Moonshine, the Hillbilly Hellraiser. How you doing? I'm doing all right. Can't complain. It's Monday. It's post 4th of July weekend. Hope everyone had a good one. Hope everyone was safe and healthy and happy throughout the course of it. Nobody binge drunk or overate or lost any limbs in the process of blowing up a bunch of incendiary devices. Um, But yeah, I mean, mine was fine. I had to work all I have to work, so I did work. It was moderately quiet for the most part as far as my job. Saturdays are typically busy for me, but it wasn't so much. But it was fine. I mean, we got through it. We persevered. It rained most of the night, so I think that probably ruined a lot of the festivities for people. But at the same time, it keeps the entire state from going up in a blaze of glory because you don't end up, and it always does this every year. Every year I've lived in Florida, it rains on the 4th of July, which seems to be a good thing because it's almost like nature's way of saying, yeah, you're not destroying us with all your crazy nonsense, and you're blowing up Roman candles and two gigantic, like whatever the hell they're called, the friggin' packs that you get. But yeah, and I didn't really see a lot of fireworks. Where normally, on New Year's Eve or 4th of July, we can step out the door of our business and you can see everybody, all the flashing fireworks and all the pretty colors and all that. Didn't really get much of that, but I think a lot of that had to do with the weather. But nonetheless, so what I wanted to talk about was uh, on the third, I went to a show. I went to another show. Went to the Brass Mug, one of my favorite places to go check out live music, and it was for the band Stabbing. Stabbing is a fairly new brutal death metal band from Austin, Texas. They're a four-piece, female-fronted band. Uh, they're on Century Media. Just put out a brand new album. It's Aeons of something or other. I suppose I should probably look that up. Here, give me a quick second, and I'll let you know. Stabbing. They put out an Eon of Obscenity is their second full length that's out on Century Media. It's a follow up to a 2022 release that they put out on Comatose Music, which is a pretty good like brutal death metal label for bands of that ilk. Not trying to be mean or anything. And yeah, it was decent. I mean, as far as the show goes, as far as doing something, having nothing really to do other than I could have just kind of grazed around the my place here and watch some movies or listen to some music. I said, yeah, what the hell? I'll go check this out. Fairly decent crowd. Not a bad turnout, especially considering it was July 4th weekend. Um, I'm not a huge brutal death metal fan. There were five bands altogether, two local acts, and then I believe the support and feature acts. One was Isotropy, which is features Derek Roddy on drums. So you actually, fun fact, you got to Lee Harrison was at the show checking it out. So was Antar from Diabolic, and that was really cool. Got to say hi to both the guys. Lee was really cool. He's a very very personable fella. He we ran into each other. It's like, hey, what's going on? And he was like, hey, how you doing and all that. And then very very cool with me, despite the fact that probably I probably my when I did my heavy metal museum video, I was talking about meeting him, and it was kind of an awkward exchange. And I'm kind of an asshole, so I would talk about that in a video just because one, I'm honest, and two, it's just kind of entertaining in a certain degree, and in sort of like that morbid gallows humor kind of way. But I don't mean anything by it. I'm not trying to be a dick or anything. It's just, it's just how I am. It's just part of my personality. And either, you get it or you don't. And I think Lee kind of got it. And, so he's really cool with me, point being. And, yeah, it was really nice to see him. Got to tell him how much I love the new album and, kind of fanboy about that a little bit. And seeing Antar was a treat because I only see him very rarely. If you're familiar with like the Florida music scene, particularly in the Bay Area here, he doesn't really go out to a lot of shows, and if he does, he's there very briefly. So, and I think that was pretty much what happened this time. He showed up just in time to see Derek Roddy's band perform. He stuck around a little bit for the headliner, and then he dipped out. But anyhow, uh, the first couple of bands, the openers, the local bands, I really couldn't get into them. They did that style of vocal delivery that sounds like it's the mix of the pig squealing and the gurgling, and it sounds like you're trying to you're trying to bring up the last bit of a smoothie or some sort of drink, some sort of thick viscous drink from the bottom of a cup with your straw. And it's got that sort of vocal delivery which does nothing for me. I mean, sometimes death and black metal bands, their vocal delivery is indecipherable, but this is completely, I mean, you could, I said it once before about listening to Melting Rot, and even though I enjoyed it, it is, you could be, the vocalist could be laying out a groundwork for peace in the Middle East, a cure for cancer, a recipe for a delicious apple turnover, whatever the case might be, and you wouldn't be able to tell, or saying the most horrific, gruesome thing on the planet. You wouldn't be able to tell because you can't understand what the hell they're saying. So the first two bands really didn't do much for me. And then I was honestly, after listening to the two bands, I was like, oh boy, did I waste my time and money coming here tonight? But then the band Implosive Disgorgence came on, and they were really good. They had there was lots of groove and lots of riffs, some good rhythms going on with the band. It was a lot more vocally, a lot more decipherable. You could actually kind of understand what the vocalist was saying. Good presentation. I guess, if I'm not mistaken, they've been around for a long time. I'm actually going to look this up right now because I did not. I honestly couldn't remember the name till I looked at some of the footage I took of the band. And no, they really haven't been around that long. They're from Pompano Beach, Fort Lauderdale area, so South Florida area. Put out a few demos, a couple of EPs, and that's pretty much it. So I guess maybe they were just part of. I guess maybe this would be a situation where the promoters, which was Vile Productions, which was Chris and I. My apologies, I forget her name. His wife, Chris from Virulence. See the banner in the background. Excellent death metal band locally. They promote shows in the area. They were the ones who put on this show, so they probably got a bunch of Florida bands together to accommodate having Stabbing come to the area. And then Isotropy was on, and they did a phenomenal job. They did a really, it was very technically precise. Derek Roddy, kick-ass drummer. Everybody knows, if you're familiar with underground and death metal music, you're familiar with Derek Roddy. Uh, but really cool. And then Stabbing was good. I mean, they had a few moments that were good. I really wasn't familiar with them, but overall, it was a good time. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I did kind of laugh at some of the pit behavior because I didn't see any push-ups in the pit, but I do kind of laugh sometimes when I watch some of the mosh pits because I always think back to when I was younger and there were pits and everything like that. Even though I didn't really engage in them too much, it always seemed like there was a certain degree of, even though you were having fun, there was always the physical contact that was involved. And a lot of times I see a lot of these kids, they start windmilling their arms around at 500 miles an hour. And I always laugh because some of them are a little bit on the doughy side. And I always chuckle because I wait to see how long it is before they all peter out and tucker themselves out. And it's usually around 30 seconds. They start doing all that and throwing karate kicks and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you don't have the endurance to keep this up for too long. And sure enough, it stops. And of course, nobody's around them as they're doing all this. And the one time I did see some girl, she comes in from the side and she's flailing and flailing her arms around and sitting there like trying to like throw fake clotheslines like she's friggin' Stan Hansen or Bradshaw, throwing back fists and stuff like that. And she ended up hitting someone who was just standing there watching the show and immediately froze and, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty much what I expected most of you would happen, what would happen with most of you. And I just kind of laugh about it because it's like, I just kind of feel like a lot of these kids, they really wouldn't know what to do in a physical altercation. So when I see them all like kind of like throwing their Suck Norris karate kicks and all this other flailing around like like the little like the kid who's like this tall versus the bully who's this tall, and they're trying to punch at him and the guy's just holding his hand like that and they're just it makes me laugh. I don't know. And then I saw the one kid, there's one kid, he's like, I guess he's doing the lawnmower starting gimmick thing, and he's like flying across the room doing that. And I just laugh. I don't know. I never really got into pits and stuff like that. I just more like watching the music. So I watch that, and I have a blast watching people do that just because it's amusing to me. I don't know why. It just is, but. Yeah, so it was a good time. And then, I mean, there's a couple, like, I should say, there's probably a couple more serious, like, underground people. Like, there's a couple guys, one guy who's in a band around here. And it always seems whenever things get a little bit more serious, he's always in the mix. So I just always chuckle to myself about that. It's like, whenever there's something happening, you're always involved in it. So. I kind of get the feeling that this might be somebody who actually wants to go in there and potentially start a fight or just test his metal against somebody and that sort of thing. But, teach their own. It's not going to be me because I'm just going to sit in the back and watch a show and have a good time, take a couple videos and pictures, and that'd be that. But yeah, it was a good time. It was cool. Overall, I enjoyed it. It wasn't the worst thing in the world to do on a Friday night when you have nothing else going on. So I know that sounds like me being a total loser, but it is what it is. I have no friends. I have no life. No, it's my night off. I have nothing. Like I said, I could have sat here and watched movies on Tubi or listen to music, and I said, what the hell? I'll go out, support a local show, support a local promotional team. Yeah, it was a good time, so I enjoyed it. But yeah, that was my fun little story that took way too long, as always. But anyhow, this is Dan. This has been Moonshine Talking. Hopefully you enjoyed this. As always, stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always tuck your chin upon impact. Don't forget to breathe. Everyone keep headbanging, iron slanging. Watch out for the crazy flailing arm kids at the pits, and have a good one. And I'll catch you on the next video. All right, later.